Hey, I recorded this in November, but I guess it's Christmas by now, or whatever you're celebrating. I could just come up with this ancient Hanukkah card, so wishing you all a merry something, and since this is the time of being humbled and sitting around at home, well, let's talk about 10 minimalist first world problems. Problem number 1. Having to outsource stuff. Like, when I was an extreme minimalist, I didn't have a washing machine, so I had to go to a laundromat. Or I didn't want to cook stuff at home because I didn't like cooking, and also had no idea how to cook anything but water. I think it's called boiling, though, if you just heat water and then you pour it onto some of these noodles, soups, ramen. That's basically what I did when I was in my 20s. That and having breakfast at this French place, which was awesome. They had yummy scrambled eggs. That was a cool time, actually. I was in nursing school then, and then we all got into third year and got a raise. And I was like, what am I gonna do with this money? I'm gonna spend it on breakfast. So I spent a lot of money on breakfast. But in general, I think without any arrogance, I hope no one is offended by me having had breakfast 10 years ago. So yeah, having to outsource stuff is really a problem sometimes, because if you don't own a lot of things, you are actually more dependent sometimes on other people, on services and that sort of thing. And I found that a little bit annoying, which is why in the end I moved away from extreme minimalism again and became a more moderate minimalist, I guess. And that is really a thing to think about, because I wanted minimalism as a tool to be more independent, right? I wanted to have less stuff. But when you get to the point where you have so few things that you start to depend heavily on people who have these things, like a pan and some pots and the tools you need to make scrambled eggs, becomes a little bit ridiculous, right? Anyway, I enjoyed that time, and I got stuff for my kitchen eventually. Problem number 2 in that context would be to have to borrow things. For instance, tools, like borrowing tools from your neighbors. That is something I constantly did, especially as an extreme minimalist. I was borrowing all this stuff all the time, and I was feeling really bad about it. But you know what? You shouldn't. Because what is the purpose of owning everything yourself, of not sharing things? Eventually you will meet people that will not have a problem with sharing their stuff with you. And those are the cool people you want to meet, right? For instance, after a while, I got a really cool neighbor, and he did not mind at all to share his storage with me. For free. He was such a cool dude, and I just used his storage unit for free, and I helped him with some stuff that he needed help with, and that is how it should be, right? And also, I go about this the exact same way. I mean, I have some tools, like I have a hammer, Doesn't get any worse from another person using it. It's not like it's easy to destroy a hammer, right? Problem number 3 is something more personal, I guess, and that is being annoyed by a cluttered environment or being irritated by it. I noticed that especially during the past few weeks when I was in home office and I didn't have a lot of clutter around me, because it's my apartment, so it's not cluttered. And when I return to some desk, like in the university or a job where I work, and I find this in a mess and the whole office is a mess, usually that's how it is with physicists and engineers. And engineers are a bit more tidy than physicists, I guess. But any office in a research and development department basically looks like a big pile of hardware trash. That is something that personally annoys me, and it's a true minimalist first world problem. That I just try to keep my own desk neat and tidy. So I always have this happy place to look at, and I'm like, hey, all these desks look like, a toddler's room. A toddler who doesn't have parents that have time to clean up the room. But my desk looks fine. I'm good. I enjoy my clean, tidy, neat, minimalist desk. Problem number 4, and that might be the first real problem here, is having to find agreements or compromises with people that you are in a relationship in. My husband is so not a minimalist, and he likes to have a few things, and he's constantly complaining about us not having enough kitchen gear, for instance. So, and I don't want to bring more stuff into the house, and I want to keep it as simple as possible, even if sometimes it means that you have to find a workaround and, make things work with the little that you have. So sometimes we have this conflict, and it's like, I don't want to live like poor people. We're not poor, we're minimalist. Then why do we live like poor people? Come on, that kind of thing. That is something that you have to be really open about, and that you have to communicate in your family or whoever you live with. If you want to be a minimalist, if you want to really live this minimalist lifestyle, eventually it's gonna involve other people, and you have to respect their boundaries. So we just keep some things separate so that there is no conflict about it anymore. Oh, and by the way, if you want me to make a separate video about conflicts, about minimalism and relationships and that kind of thing, just let me know in the comments. I'm happy to do so. Just share your questions, and I'm going to try and answer them. All right. Problem number 4 is cravings and this wish for maximalism in a way, or materialist things and needs. For instance, I really like to find the best thing that I can have with whatever it is. If it is a piece of gear, a piece of clothing, a toy for my kid, I want to find the best piece that I can find. Usually I start looking for that online, then I try to find a local shop that sells this thing or something. And sometimes, you get so caught up in this process of personal optimization that it becomes a little bit ridiculous. And I don't think that it's healthy to get lost in that. So yes, I'm trying to optimize certain things about my life, and I like doing that, and I enjoy it. Once I got like the perfect item, and then I'm like really happy about it, and I'm a little bit proud that I made it through Pinterest. But I think it's really important to be aware of the fact that we can get lost in these kind of things, and that essentially sometimes it really doesn't matter so much which item you get, because if you're so close that you think like, oh, this is so perfect and this is so good and I really can't decide, well, then maybe they're not that different, right? Okay, let's move on to point number 6, and that is echo in the apartment. As you can probably hear, or hopefully you can't, or it's not that bad, because I have a mic actually that is down here pretty close to my face, and I try to reduce the echo as much as possible. But that can be annoying sometimes, especially if you're on the phone with someone, or if you're in a phone conference with people you work with, and you're the one that's constantly being told like, hey, what is this? Are you in a huge hallway? Where are you? Are you in your basement? And you're like, no, I'm just in my living room, There's nothing you can do about it. Maybe just get a carpet. I don't want to have a carpet. Carpets are clutter. I'm saying this sitting in front of my closet. Problem number 7. Having no clothes for occasions. Fundraisers, galas, huge openings of new galleries, matinees, the huge. I'm just kidding. But I used to go to a dance once a year, like a university dance, and you were supposed to bring a spouse and look fancy. And I still have one dress for occasions like this, but it's a summer dress, and you can really not wear a sweater over that dress or anything else. It's just a ridiculously beautiful summer dress. So yeah, for most occasions, I just dress in those basics like that. And I wear a blazer, or I ask a friend if they can lend me something to wear to an occasion like that. And there we are back at point number 1, that there are services that you can, use, and you can just rent a dress or rent a tux, so you don't have to keep it. Problem number 8 is about sustainability. Because I do not have much furniture, and I do have a rather large room. My bedroom is a living room of this apartment by design, I think, because all the German apartments in this era were designed the same way. It was like sleeping, living room, kids' room. So the kid is the only person in the family that is allowed to have a space to itself. And that is something we as a family do not agree on. We think it's better that everyone has their own space, so you can still say, your place or mine, right? I think that is better than just having one sleeping place. Maybe I should make a video about that kind of living too, if you're interested in that and why we chose that way of living. However, what I wanted to say is that due to our choice of rooms, I have the biggest room and I don't have a lot of furniture in it. So, there's a lot of air you need to heat in this room. And I think, especially when you are living in older apartments, you have the problem that you will have a lot of air to heat. And if there is not a lot of furniture in there, the volume you need to warm up is even bigger. And that means having more costs due to heating. Also not good for the environment. So I try to keep myself warm rather than keeping the rooms warm. And that works out quite well for us. It's only mildly annoying. Problem number 9 is that sometimes when I was an extreme minimalist, I had to hand wash my clothes because I didn't have enough. I didn't have enough socks or whatever. And so sometimes I found myself just washing them in the shower or in the sink. And that was pretty annoying. But I was a university student. I didn't really mind. So I was just hanging up my socks every evening, I guess. But this is, like when you have this minimalist ideology, when you have this very restrictive type of minimalism, where you say, I don't want to bring any more things into my life. I don't want to have more than 5 pairs of socks. It's not going to work. And at some point, you're deceiving yourself. So that was something I didn't want to do. And eventually, I got more socks. And today, honestly, I prefer to buy the same item like 5 times. I have a few pants that I have 2 times or 3 times. I have a pair of shoes that I got 3 of. And that works for me. So I guess someone with a very strict minimalist mindset might count every single pair of shoes here. But for me, it's really like just duplicate. And it doesn't really make a difference for me. It might take up a little bit more space, but essentially I don't have to think about what I'm wearing more than someone who would only have 1 pair of shoes. All of them match my clothes. It's just that they don't get worn out that fast. Which is point number 10. And that is, if you don't have a lot of clothes, like I did when I was an extreme minimalist, I had only a very limited wardrobe. I had, not 20 pieces maybe. And that kind of lifestyle makes your wardrobe very prone to wear. And especially if you care about your clothes, if you want to have like a few nice pieces, you're gonna have a problem. And for me, that meant I ended up wearing even less of my clothes because I didn't want to wear them out. So I was just limiting myself in a very stupid way. And I don't recommend this way of thinking to anyone. I get it. A lot of people want to have that extreme minimalist experience. And it's a great experience. I wouldn't want to miss it in the world. If I had to do it all over again, I would have these few years that I was living an extreme minimalist lifestyle. I find myself moving towards that again. I'm right now in a decluttering phase again, and I want to have less and less and less because I like it. But you gotta find the sweet spot, you gotta find the sweet spot where you're both happy and it's still easy and not harder than it needs to be, right? Okay, that's it.